Imagine this, it's a quiet afternoon in a small American town. The sun is shining, birds are chirping, and life seems to be moving at its usual pace. But in a split second, everything changes. A police officer, armed with authority and a badge, approaches a black man standing on the sidewalk. The tension is palpable. Words are exchanged, voices rise, and before anyone can process what's happening, the officer physically assaults the man. The crowd gasps. Phones are pulled out to record. But then, something unexpected happens. The officer freezes. His face turns pale. He realizes the man he just assaulted isn't just any ordinary citizen, he's a senior government official. The kind of person who has the power to change lives, enforce laws, and hold people accountable. The kind of person you don't want to mess with. What happens next? How does this shocking encounter unfold? And what does it reveal about power, race, and justice in America today? Stick around because this story is about to take you on a roller coaster of emotions, revelations, and jaw-dropping moments that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Now I know what you're thinking. You've seen videos like this before. Cops. Citizens. Tensions running high. But trust me, this isn't just another viral clip. This is a story that digs deeper, one that exposes the complexities of authority, privilege, and the human condition. It's a story that will make you angry, make you think, and maybe even make you question your own beliefs. And here's the thing, you're not just watching this story unfold. You're a part of it. Because by the end of this video, you're going to get answers. Answers to the questions that made you click on this video in the first place. Who is this government official? Why did the officer react the way he did? And what happens when the tables are turned? I promise you, this isn't just another YouTube video. This is an experience. And I need you to stay with me until the very end, because the climax of this story will leave you speechless. Let's talk about the characters in this story, because they're not just names or faces, they're real people with real lives, real emotions, and real consequences. First, there's Officer Daniels, a man who spent years on the force, upholding the law, protecting the community, and doing what he believes is right. But like all of us, he's human. He has flaws, biases, and moments of weakness. Then there's Marcus Johnson, the black citizen at the center of this storm. A man who spent his life climbing the ranks of government, fighting for justice, and advocating for those who don't have a voice. But in this moment, he's not a powerful official. He's just a man, standing on a sidewalk, trying to make sense of what's happening to him. And then there's you, the viewer. Because this story isn't just about them, it's about us. It's about the society we live in, the systems we've built, and the choices we make every single day. As we dive deeper into this story, I want you to pay attention to the details. The way Officer Daniels' voice trembles when he realizes who Marcus is. The way Marcus stands tall, even in the face of adversity. The way the crowd reacts, some shouting in anger, others in disbelief. These moments aren't just dramatic, they're revealing. They show us the cracks in the system, the biases we carry, and the power dynamics that shape our world. And as the story unfolds, you're going to see how one moment, one decision, can change everything. But here's the thing, I'm not going to give you all the answers right away. Because this story isn't just about what happens. It's about why it happens. And to understand that, we need to take this journey together, step by step, moment by moment. So let's set the scene. It's a typical day in the town of Willow Creek, a place where everyone knows everyone, and life moves at a slower pace. Officer Daniels is on patrol, driving through the streets, keeping an eye out for anything unusual. Marcus Johnson is in town for a meeting, dressed in a sharp suit, carrying a briefcase filled with important documents. They cross paths on a quiet street, near a park where kids are playing, and families are enjoying the day. At first, it seems like nothing out of the ordinary. But then, something catches Officer Daniels' attention. Maybe it's the way Marcus is standing. Maybe it's the way he's dressed. Or maybe it's something deeper, something subconscious, something we all carry with us, whether we realize it or not. Whatever it is, it sets off a chain of events that will change both of their lives forever. As the confrontation escalates, you can feel the tension building. The officer's voice grows louder, more aggressive. Marcus tries to stay calm, to explain himself, but it's no use. And then, it happens. The officer grabs Marcus, pushes him against the car, and the crowd erupts. Phones are out, recording every second. But just when it seems like things can't get any worse, the officer stops. He looks at Marcus, really looks at him, and his expression changes. It's a look of shock, of fear, of realization. Because in that moment, he realizes who Marcus is. And that's when the story takes a turn you won't see coming. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. Not yet. Because this story isn't just about what happens next, it's about what it means. It's about the power dynamics at play, the racial tensions that still exist, and the ways in which our society is both broken and beautiful. It's about the choices we make, the consequences we face, and the lessons we learn. And most importantly, it's about you. Because by the end of this video, you're not just going to be a viewer. You're going to be a part of this story. You're going to have questions, thoughts, and maybe even a few answers. But to get there, you need to stay with me. You need to see this through to the end. Because the climax of this story isn't just shocking, it's life-changing. So what happens next? What does Officer Daniels do when he realizes who Marcus is? How does Marcus respond? And what does this moment reveal about the world we live in? You're going to find out. But not yet. Because this story isn't just about the destination, it's about the journey. And we're just getting started. So grab a seat, keep your eyes on the screen, and get ready for a story that will stay with you long after the video ends. Because this isn't just a story about a cop and a government official. This is a story about us. And it's one you don't want to miss. As the officer's grip on Marcus loosens, the air grows thick with tension. Officer Daniels' face is a mask of confusion and dread, his mind racing to process the gravity of his mistake. Marcus, on the other hand, stands tall, his expression a mix of defiance and quiet authority. The crowd, now fully aware that something extraordinary is unfolding, murmurs in hushed tones, their phones still recording every second. But this moment isn't just about the confrontation between these two men. It's about the lives that led them here, the choices they've made, and the systems that have shaped their realities. To truly understand what's happening, we need to step back and explore the paths that brought them to this explosive intersection. Officer Daniels, a veteran of the Willow Creek Police Department, has spent over a decade on the force. He's seen it all: domestic disputes, drug busts, even the occasional high-speed chase. But beneath the badge and the uniform, he's a man grappling with his own demons. Growing up in a working-class family, Daniels always dreamed of being a hero, someone who could make a difference in his community. But the job has taken its toll. The long hours, the constant stress, and the weight of responsibility have left him jaded, his idealism slowly eroding over time. And then there are the biases, subtle, ingrained, and often unconscious, that have shaped his interactions with the people he's sworn to protect. Daniels isn't a bad person, but he's a product of a system that often rewards aggression and punishes vulnerability. And in this moment, that system has brought him face to face with a man who represents everything he's been taught to fear and respect. Marcus Johnson, on the other hand, is no stranger to adversity. Born and raised in a predominantly black neighborhood, Marcus learned early on that the world wasn't always fair. His father, a civil rights activist, instilled in him a deep sense of justice and a determination to fight for what's right. Marcus worked tirelessly to rise above the challenges he faced, earning a scholarship to an Ivy League university and eventually climbing the ranks of government. Today, he's a senior official with the Department of Justice, a man who wields significant influence and power. But despite his success, Marcus has never forgotten where he came from. He spent his career advocating for criminal justice reform, pushing for policies that address systemic racism and hold law enforcement accountable. And yet, here he is, standing on a sidewalk in Willow Creek, being treated like a criminal simply because of the color of his skin. The irony isn't lost on him, but neither is the danger. Because in this moment, Marcus isn't just a government official, he's a black man in America, and that comes with its own set of risks. As the crowd continues to watch, the tension between Daniels and Marcus reaches a boiling point. Daniels, now fully aware of Marcus's identity, is torn between his instinct to assert authority and the fear of the consequences he might face. Marcus, meanwhile, is calculating his next move. He knows that anything he says or does could escalate the situation, but he also knows that he can't back down. This isn't just about him. It's about every black person who's ever been profiled, harassed, or assaulted by the police. It's about the countless lives that have been lost to police brutality and the systemic racism that continues to plague our society. And so Marcus decides to take a stand. He calmly but firmly demands that Daniels release him and explain the reason for his aggression. His voice is steady, but there's an edge to it, a warning that he's not someone to be trifled with. But this story isn't just about Daniels and Marcus. It's also about the people watching, the bystanders who've become unwilling participants in this trauma. Among them is Sarah, a young woman who's been recording the entire incident on her phone. Sarah is a college student studying journalism, and she knows that what she's witnessing could be the story of a lifetime. But she's also conflicted. Should she intervene? Should she try to de-escalate the situation? Or should she keep recording, knowing that the footage could be used as evidence? Sarah's internal struggle mirrors the larger questions at play. In this story, questions about accountability, justice, and the role of the individual in a broken system. And then there's Mr. Thompson, an elderly man who's lived in Willow Creek his entire life. Mr. Thompson has seen the town change over the years, but he's never seen anything like this. As he watches the confrontation unfold, he can't help but feel a sense of shame. Shame for the way his community has failed to address its racial tensions. Shame for the way people like Marcus are still treated, and shame for the fact that he's never spoken up about it. As the minutes tick by, the situation grows more complicated. Backup arrives, and soon the street is filled with police cars, their lights flashing ominously. The officers are confused. They've been told there's a disturbance, but they don't know the full story. Daniels, now visibly shaken, tries to explain, but his words come out jumbled and incoherent. Marcus, meanwhile, is on the phone, calling his colleagues at the Department of Justice. He knows that this incident could have far-reaching implications, not just for him, but for the entire community. And as he speaks, his voice is calm but firm, a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding around him. But even as the immediate crisis begins to subside, the underlying tensions remain. This incident isn't an isolated event, it's a symptom of a much larger problem. A problem that's been festering for years, fueled by systemic racism, economic inequality, and a lack of accountability. And as the news of the confrontation spreads, the town of Willow Creek finds itself at a crossroads. Will this be the moment that forces them to confront their biases and work towards real change? Or will it be just another story, forgotten as soon as the next headline takes its place? As we delve deeper into this story, it's important to remember that this isn't just about one officer and one government official. It's about all of us. It's about the choices we make, the systems we uphold, and the world we want to live in. And as the plot thickens, the stakes only get higher. What will happen to Officer Daniels? Will he face consequences for his actions, or will the system protect him? How will Marcus use his platform to address the larger issues at play? And what role will the community people like Sarah and Mr. Thompson play in shaping the outcome? These are the questions that will keep you hooked, the questions that will make you think, and the questions that will stay with you long after the video ends. But for now, the story is far from over. The tension is still building, the characters are still evolving, and the mystery is still unfolding. And as we move forward, one thing is clear: this isn't just a story about a cop and a government official. It's a story about power, race, and justice in America. It's a story that will challenge your assumptions, provoke your emotions, and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. So, stay with me. because the best is yet to come. As the flashing lights of the police cars illuminate the street, the tension in Willow Creek reaches a fever pitch. Officer Daniels, now surrounded by his fellow officers, tries to regain his composure, but the weight of his mistake is crushing him. He knows that this incident could end his career, but more than that, he's beginning to realize the deeper implications of his actions. Marcus, still standing tall amidst the chaos, is on the phone with his team at the Department of Justice, his voice calm but urgent. He's not just thinking about himself, he's thinking about the precedent this moment could set. If a senior government official can be treated this way, what does that mean for the average citizen? The stakes are higher than ever, and the entire town is watching, waiting to see how this will play out. But just when it seems like the situation couldn't get any more intense, an unexpected twist throws everything into disarray. A voice cuts through the noise, sharp and commanding. It's Chief Reynolds, the head of the Willow Creek Police Department, and he's not happy. He pushes through the crowd, his face a mask of fury and disbelief. Chief Reynolds is a no-nonsense leader, a man who prides himself on running a tight ship. But as he takes in the scene before him, Officer Daniels visibly shaken, Marcus Johnson standing with quiet authority, and the crowd buzzing with tension, he knows that this is a crisis unlike any he's faced before. And then, in a move that shocks everyone, Chief Reynolds turns to Daniels and demands an explanation. But before Daniels can respond, Marcus steps forward, his voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. Chief Reynolds, he says, this isn't just about one officer. This is about your department. This is about your community. And this is about accountability. The crowd erupts into murmurs, their phones still recording every word. Chief Reynolds, caught off guard by Marcus's directness, hesitates for a moment before nodding. He knows that this incident could destroy the reputation of his department, but he also knows that he has a choice to make. Will he stand by his officer, or will he take a stand for justice? The tension is palpable, and the stakes have never been higher. But just as Chief Reynolds is about to speak, another voice interrupts. It's Sarah, the college student who's been recording the entire incident. She steps forward, her phone still in hand, and addresses the crowd. This isn't just about what happened here today, she says, her voice trembling but determined. This is about what happens every day. This is about the systemic racism that's been ignored for too long. And this is about whether we, as a community, are willing to do something about it. Sarah's words hang in the air, a powerful reminder that this story isn't just about the individuals involved, it's about the larger issues at play. And as the crowd absorbs her message, another twist emerges. Mr. Thompson, the elderly man who's been watching silently from the sidelines, steps forward. His face is lined with regret, but there's a newfound determination in his eyes. I've lived in this town my whole life, he says, his voice shaking with emotion. And I've seen things I'm not proud of. But today, I realize that silence is no longer an option. We need to do better. We need to be better. His words resonate deeply, and for a moment the crowd falls silent, the weight of his message sinking in. But even as the community begins to grapple with these revelations, the situation on the ground remains volatile. Officer Daniels, now feeling the full weight of his actions, tries to apologize, but his words fall flat. Marcus, still calm but firm, refuses to accept the apology. This isn't about me, he says. This is about the system that allows this to happen. And until that system changes, apologies aren't enough. His words are a stark reminder that this incident is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, a puzzle that's been ignored for far too long. As the tension continues to build, the subplots deepen, adding layers of complexity to the story. Sarah, inspired by the events she's witnessed, begins to dig deeper into the history of police misconduct in Willow Creek. What she uncovers is shocking, a pattern of abuse, cover-ups, and a lack of accountability that stretches back decades. Meanwhile, Mr. Thompson, motivated by his own guilt, starts reaching out to other community leaders, urging them to take a stand. And Chief Reynolds, caught between his loyalty to his department and his desire to do what's right, begins to question everything he thought he knew about justice and leadership. But just when it seems like the story couldn't get any more intense, another twist emerges. A video surfaces online, showing the entire incident from a different angle. The footage, which quickly goes viral, sparks a nationwide conversation about race, power, and accountability. News outlets pick up the story, and soon, Willow Creek is at the center of a national debate. The pressure on Chief Reynolds and his department intensifies, and the community finds itself at a crossroads. Will they come together to demand change, or will they let this moment pass, as so many others have? As the story hurtles toward its climax, the stakes have never been higher. The tension is palpable, the characters are evolving, and the mystery is deepening. But one thing is clear, this isn't just a story about a cop and a government official. It's a story about power, race, and justice in America. It's a story that will challenge your assumptions, provoke your emotions, and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. And as we move closer to the climax, one question remains: what will happen next? Will justice be served, or will the system prevail? The answer is coming, but for now, the tension continues to build, and the story remains as gripping as ever. Stay with me because the best and most shocking part is yet to come. ASC The video of the confrontation between Officer Daniels and Marcus Johnson spreads like wildfire across social media. The town of Willow Creek becomes the epicenter of a national reckoning. News trucks line the streets, reporters clamor for interviews, and hashtags like Justice for Marcus and Willow Creek Reckoning trend on every platform. The pressure on Chief Reynolds and the Willow Creek Police Department is immense, and the community is divided. Some demand immediate action, calling for Officer Daniels to be fired and charged. Others, however, rally behind the police, claiming that Daniels was just doing his job and that Marcus's status as a government official doesn't give him special treatment. The tension is electric, and the stakes have never been higher. But just when it seems like the story is heading toward a predictable conclusion, an unexpected twist changes everything. In the midst of the chaos, Marcus Johnson makes a bold decision. Instead of using his position to demand retribution, he calls for a town hall meeting. His goal isn't to escalate the conflict, but to create a space for dialogue and healing. The announcement shocks everyone, including Chief Reynolds, who reluctantly agrees to attend. The town hall is held in the local community center, and the room is packed to capacity. People from all walks of life, residents, activists, police officers, and even curious outsiders fill the seats, their faces a mix of anger, hope, and uncertainty. Marcus takes the stage, and the room falls silent. He begins by sharing his own story, not as a government official, but as a Black man who has experienced the weight of systemic racism his entire life. His words are raw and heartfelt, and they resonate deeply with everyone in the room. But then, he does something no one expects. He turns to Officer Daniels, who is sitting in the front row, and invites him to speak. Daniels, visibly nervous and humbled, stands up and takes the microphone. His voice trembles as he admits his mistakes, not just in the confrontation with Marcus, but throughout his career. He talks about the biases he's carried, the moments he's regretted, and the system that shaped him. His apology is sincere, but it's not enough to win over the crowd. The room erupts into shouts and arguments, the tension threatening to boil over. But then Marcus steps in again, his voice calm but firm. "This isn't about one man," he says. "This is about all of us. This is about the system we've built and the changes we need to make. And if we're going to move forward, we need to do it together." His words are a call to action, and slowly, the room begins to quiet down. As the town hall continues, the subplots that have been simmering throughout the story come to a head. Sarah, the college student who recorded the incident, presents her findings on the history of police misconduct in Willow Creek. Her research is thorough and damning, revealing a pattern of abuse and cover-ups that shocks even the most jaded residents. But instead of using her findings to attack the police, she offers them as a starting point for reform. "We can't change the past," she says, "but we can shape the future." Her courage inspires others to speak up, including Mr. Thompson, who shares his own experiences with racism and his regret for staying silent for so long. His words are a powerful reminder that change starts with accountability, and the room is moved to tears. Chief Reynolds, realizing that the status quo is no longer an option, takes the stage and announces a series of sweeping reforms. Body cameras will be mandatory for all officers. A civilian oversight board will be established, and implicit bias training will be implemented department-wide. His announcement is met with cautious optimism, but Marcus isn't done yet. He proposes a partnership between the Department of Justice and the Willow Creek Police Department to create a model for community policing that other cities can follow. The idea is ambitious, but it's exactly the kind of bold action that's needed. The room erupts into applause, and for the first time in a long time, there's a sense of hope. But just when it seems like the story is reaching its resolution, one final twist leaves everyone in awe. As the town hall wraps up, a young boy, no older than 10, approaches Marcus. He's holding a handmade sign that reads, "Thank you for standing up for us." The boy looks up at Marcus with wide eyes and says, "I want to be like you when I grow up." The moment is simple but profound, a reminder that this story isn't just about the past or the present, it's about the future. Marcus kneels down to the boy's level and says, "You don't have to wait to grow up to make a difference. You can start right now." The boy smiles, and the room bursts into applause once more. As the story comes to a close, the characters are forever changed. Officer Daniels, though still facing consequences for his actions, commits himself to being part of the solution. Sarah, inspired by the events she's witnessed, decides to pursue a career in investigative journalism, determined to shine a light on injustice wherever she finds it. Mr. Thompson, no longer content to stay silent, becomes an advocate for change in his community. And Marcus, though he could have used his position to demand retribution, chooses a different path, one of reconciliation and hope. The story ends with a powerful reminder: change is possible, but it requires courage, accountability, and a willingness to listen. And as the camera pans out, showing the community coming together, one thing is clear: this isn't just a story about a cop and a government official. It's a story about all of us and the world we have the power to create.